on to Chelsea. They've been dealt a bit of a blow in their stadium plans as they were obviously looking into that Earls Court option, but now plans for housing and retail have been greenlighted by one of the local councils in West London. So is this just a sign of the issues they're really facing due to their location if they want to move away from Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been involved in about 6 different stadium projects in my career in football, and this is one that I am glad that I am nowhere near. This is a nightmare project for Chelsea right now. And yes, the local council giving green light for the Earls Court Development Company for a retail and business complex is another blow to Chelsea, certainly. It would appear that Earls Court was the only real option if they were to build away from Stamford Bridge, but we also know that there's massive problems around regenerating Stamford Bridge as well. Not only is there the Chelsea pitch owners situation, but the fact is, if they had to knock down stands and rebuild them at Stamford Bridge, they'd be being reduced to something like a 25,000 capacity during the building of those stands. So they've got real issues around that. It's looking more and more like they're going to be cornered into redeveloping Stamford Bridge, and that may mean moving to Wembley, which is never a good option. I know Spurs did it and survived, but I don't think Chelsea will like it. They may have to just bite the bullet and do it if they're going to finally resolve this. I mean, as long as I've been in football, this question really around Chelsea's development has been going on. And there has to be a final solution, and it's a big, difficult question. In West London, the costs of building and construction are phenomenal, and the problems you've got of getting supplies there through the road system, etc., is a real nightmare, and it's so costly. So, really, I was really thinking that Earls Court would have been the right solution. I suppose it's not beyond the possibility that at some stage the Chelsea owners with so much money could end up buying the Earls Court Development Company out. Maybe that's what they're holding out for, is a bit of an auction to try and do this. We saw Man United getting held to ransom with a ransom strip of land around Old Trafford. That could be one thing they're thinking about, but it would be a very costly situation to try and do that. So you've got 2 imperfect options, but it does seem like it's closing down, and that Stamford Bridge, and it's a very imperfect option, seems to be the favourite that's going on right now. But this is a difficult one, and every week that goes by, it gets more expensive and more difficult. And this is something that should have been resolved, and somebody should have made a decision probably under the Abramovich era, which he tried to do, and that would have been the right time. And then, as we know, events took over in so many different ways. So it's a big issue for Chelsea, and it's not one that will help them, because, as I say, every week that goes by, not only does it get more expensive, but your opponents are increasing their revenue in bigger stadiums like Spurs, West Ham, Arsenal now looking at redeveloping the Emirates. So you're going to be falling, down the table in terms of revenue facilities at your stadium. So yes, Chelsea have got a headache with that one. So good luck to them on that one. As I say, I'm glad it's not my problem.
Definitely, me too. And then in terms of another quite a big story involving Chelsea as well, a former Chelsea employee has pleaded guilty to defrauding the football club out of more than £200,000. Given your extensive experience within football clubs, is that quite a surprising situation to hear about?
Unfortunately not. I've, in both clubs that I've been involved in the Premier League, there were issues of fraud that I had to handle and resolve, and there were sizable amounts in different cases. And it's football is not immune to this, and perhaps football was often more a victim of it, because a lot of the management controls were very lax. And it's only recently, really, that football has really come back into the 21st century and got the right people involved with the right skills and the right systems. Before, a lot of the issues around football, certainly in the early 2000s through to probably up to about 2015, the clubs weren't being run properly and professionally. And as I say, yes, I have encountered fraud issues, and it's something that everybody has to keep an eye on. But I think today, given the quality of a lot of the new owners and the monies involved, we're seeing that sort of attention to detail and the right regulation coming in to do it. Now, This seems to be, from what I've read, a long-term employee who was in the Treasury Department at Chelsea and managed to get away with just over £200,000, which is obviously a significant amount. And I think she would not have been suspected. She'd been a long-term employee, a Chelsea fan, living within a mile from the ground. But nevertheless, it's obviously a lack of control or the controls that had let her get away with this in the Treasury Department. So whether it's in your F&B area, whether it's wherever there's expenditure, clubs have got to be very aware that this is an issue. And yes, unfortunately, football does have fraud issues like every other part where human beings are involved.
And then in North London, quite an interesting development. Arsenal have agreed to sign Ecuadorian twins Edwin and Holger Quintero when they turn 18 in August 2027. Is this just another sign of how far ahead clubs are thinking now and how far they're looking to sign these future talents?
Absolutely. This is exactly what Arsenal have been showing some very good signs recently. I think Andre Berta, who's come in, has done a great job. And yes, Arsenal, not just with these couple of kids coming through, there's a few others that they're looking to get in there. We've seen old Max, the young 15-year-old superstar. And yes, look, Mikel is actually, as from what I understand, certainly from speaking to my Arsenal contacts, he is actually getting involved in helping to build that sort of legacy going forward. And there's no doubt Kroenke is after a dynasty. He wants to try and build that the right way. And they are certainly not just short-term investors. They're looking longer term, and they want to build something going forward. Along with this, we'll see probably an announcement, I think, reasonably soon about the Emirates, redevelopment and moving forward with that. So Arsenal are definitely looking long term, and I think that's the way that they've got to do it, because most clubs are starting to get there. But I think Arsenal are actually right at the front of the pack in terms of laying down the foundations to go very well. Chelsea have been doing very well, as we know, as well, with the academy system. And a couple of other clubs are starting to sort of play catch up a little bit with those two. But yes, look, full kudos to Arsenal. They're doing well.
One club that's not doing quite as well at the moment is their northern rivals, Tottenham. Obviously, they've slipped to 12th after this recent run of form under Thomas Frank. So how do you expect the owners and the hierarchy of the club, Vinay, and those kind of people to approach Thomas Frank's situation, given he has just joined, but the form isn't really where they want to be right now?
Well, I was actually, sparing a penny for Daniel Levy's thoughts as he was looking in. You can imagine from the outside right now, thinking, "Oh, listen, they now know what it's like." And Daniel's had years of this sort of criticism, but look, this is their first real test of the new ownership and the Lewis family, and also the new executive team that's in place and the new board. This is their first real test, and they have got to stick with Thomas Frank. In my opinion, there's no doubt about it. This is not going to be a short-term situation. Again, there's years of some mistakes that have got to be corrected, and it does take a while to get things sorted out. Everybody looks short term at things like, did he get his substitutions right on certain games, etc. But there is a much bigger picture that has to be looked at, and I think Thomas Frank is the right guy to get that resolved. And I do think the owners will want to show they're not knee-jerk, and they will want to see a longer-term strategy. I believe the executive team with Vinay have got enough experience to also not become knee-jerk, and also to try and provide the tools going forward. I think he'll turn it round. I think in January we'll see him active, very active in the window, and I think that will be the start of him putting his own stamp on the playing squad and moving things forward. But no, this is one that they've got to stay the course, stick with him, and things will start to turn around. Let's not forget where they finished last season, and I think as long as he can finish in the European place, I think he's going to finish somewhere around 7th or 8th is still my belief. And if he does that, then I think everybody will be happy, and on we go. But now is not the time to lose your head. It's time to stay calm, and Spurs have got to move forward, but they've got to be active in January.
Well, we talked the other week about the possibility of them maybe actually signing Igor Thiago from Brentford after he's done so well this season. That at Brentford, he obviously worked under Frank last season there. So he's also actually now been linked with a move to Aston Villa. There's a £50 million price tag that's been talked about. So in terms of Villa themselves, do they have the PSR capacity to pull off a deal of that nature, or would it be tricky for them, do you think?
Well, the one name I'd think that will fit into this deal is Ollie Watkins. I think if there was some type of swap situation there with cash, that's how I think Villa would get through the PSR issues, and I think it would be the right move as well. And I think Ollie, having come from there initially, might make some sense to end up back at Brentford. So look, that's an interesting one. But I think that's how I could see it working with Villa in terms of the PSR issues. But otherwise, I don't see it happening with them at all in terms of cash. And I don't know if he's the right answer for Spurs either right now. I think they need something that's slightly different. But yes, I could see that player swap situation or player plus cash from Villa for that younger player, and I think that may work.
I guess Brentford will be kind of keen to keep hold of him, wouldn't they, given he has been so instrumental at the start of this season for them too.
Definitely. Look, Brentford are not a selling club. And as I say, I've got to eat my words of what I said about the manager coming in. He's done well. He's got some good results. He's got the team playing for him, and they will be doing all they can to keep stability in that squad. And with the new, minority owners coming in, I don't believe there's any sort of cash crisis or anything like that at all at Brentford. Very far from it. They've got a great chief executive in John Varney, who's running a stable ship, and they are going to do all they can. But sometimes if a player agitates, we know player power these days, but it might not be the worst option to bring some experience back. I think Watkins has certainly got a few good seasons left in him, and I think he might flourish in that sort of environment. So Keith Andrews may be thinking about something like that.